There we go. Okay, so everyone should be able to see me, Evelyn, and the chessboard. Is that correct? All right, I think we got it now. I think we're actually legit. We're legit now. Now we're legitimate. Okay. All right, so we got it. Okay, so now I should be able to go and send you another invite because our game got aborted. Because I wasn't, neither of us made a move. So let's go over here and I send you a rematch. Okay, so you should just be able to click OK, and we should be able to go from there. So go to chess.com, and there should be something that pops up that says rematch of some. There we go. Okay. All right. We got it. We did it. We did it. All right. So, yeah, let's play some chess, and then let me talk.
Okay.
Oh yeah, we got to make a few moves. So let's actually just start playing, and then we can go. You go first, Evelyn. You're white.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. And then I'm gonna push out. All right, so you're attacking my undefended pawn. I like that. That's what you want to do. You want to attack my undefended pieces. That's a good aggressive stretch. So now notice right here, Evelyn is attacking my pawn on e5. So I don't want to just lose that pawn for free, right? So I am going to develop my knight, which is now defending the pawn, right? So she doesn't want to take it because if she does, obviously she'll lose her knight. My knight will take her knight. All right.
Mm-hmm. All right. Now.
All right, so pushed out a pawn, gaining a little more space indirectly in the center. All right, and development is key early in the game. So you want to get your pieces developed. So right now, I'm noticing that this bishop would like to get developed. So I'm going to develop this bishop to this diagonal. This is a pretty strong diagonal because F2 is a weak square for your king. For in your defense, your king is the only piece defending F2. So if I can get like a second attacker on this square, I can create a lot of problems for you. But right now, you don't have to worry about it a lot because there's only one attacker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So I don't even really have a strategy. I just like do stuff and see what happens.
Well, that's fine. That's fine. I mean, after the game, we'll do analysis. We'll go through everything, and I'll be able to explain a lot about it. So.
Okay. All right.
All right.
Okay. Wait, which one's this is so D, that's queen, right? And the other one's
the queen is on D1. You always go to the letter first of the file, and then you go up to the number. So the queen's on D1, the bishop next to it is on C1, then the knight is on B1.
Yeah. Sometimes I don't know which one's the king and which one's the queen on the electronic ones.
The king always has the cross on the top.
Okay.
That's the way to remember it. Okay, and that's a really good move, by the way, Evelyn. So the idea is, notice how before when this pawn was on D2 right here, this bishop couldn't move anywhere, right? It was stuck because bishops move diagonally, right? It was just stuck. It was a stuck piece. But now that this pawn has been pushed to D3, this bishop has the potential of coming out, right? And in chess, having the potential to move your pieces is crucial. In fact, that's one of the key aspects of chess, the ability to move your pieces. Okay, so now it's my turn. I am going to develop my knight. I'm going to get my knight developed. All right. So now notice I have no pieces in between my king and my rook, which means I can actually castle this way. Evelyn, do you know about castling?
Yeah, the castles.
Yeah, you can castle. You can move your king and rook in ways they normally don't move.
Yep.
Okay.
So the castle can go side to side and up and down. Is that what you're talking about?
The king would actually move 2 squares. So my king right here on E1. Like let's say you do a nothing move, like I don't know, maybe A3, right? Then my next move, I could actually move my king 2 squares and hop the rook on the other side of the king to f8. This is like a very weird maneuver. It's called castling. It's a very special rule in chess.
Oh, no, I haven't heard of it before.
Yeah, a lot of people when they learn the game they don't know about castling, but you'll see it. You'll
Ah,
see it in a second when I do it.
so wait, your king, it's a move that your king does.
Yeah, and your king can actually move two squares. You're basically
Ah,
moving your king and your rook at the same time, which is very odd. It's
ah.
very very bizarre.
Maybe that's why I won sometime, and I didn't know when I played against the computer. I didn't know why I won, and I thought the king moved in some weird way, so maybe it was that.
Yeah, yeah. There's a weird thing called castling. And I'll explain it
Ah,
later. All right. Okay, so
okay,
it's your turn.
all right. What do I do? Hmm.
Okay. All right. Let's see. So we got that. All right. Now it's my turn. What am I going to do? I want to get development. But I'm going to do that. I'm going to do castling because I was just talking about castling. So notice the position of my king and my rook, and now check out this one simple move. Bam. My king actually was able to move two squares, which it typically can't, and my rook was able to hop over a piece, which it typically can't. That's called castling, and you can castle. This is called kingside, and you can also castle queenside. Now there are some conditions about castling. So if you have moved your king at any point in the game, you forfeit the right to castle the entire game. You can't castle at all.
Okay.
Also if you moved your rook, like let's say I had moved this rook at some point in the game, like I don't know, or it's not there obviously, but if I had moved my rook, then moved it back, I would not be able to castle that way either the entire game. And then if there are any pieces in between your king and your rook, you cannot castle as well. And then the final rules of castling are you cannot castle to get out of check. So if someone's checking you, you can't castle. You also cannot castle through the line of a check. So if there's like a piece attacking like in between your king and your rook, you cannot castle as well. And you cannot castle into check because you can never move into check.
Yeah. So you can't do it to get out of check
Correct. Yeah.
or
Yeah.
checkmate,
Yeah.
obviously.
Yeah. Any of that stuff you cannot castle. So that good point there. All right. So it's your turn.
Okay. Mm,
Okay. So now you did something interesting. So you moved your rook out to a3. Okay. Notice the position of my bishop in line with your
oh
rook,
shit!
right?
Yeah, I didn't see it.
No worries, no worries, no worries. Now here's the thing. A lot of newer players don't know the point values of pieces. Are you familiar with the point values or not?
Not the exact point. I have a bit of understanding of what ones are worth a
Yeah,
bit
like
more though.
so like obviously like a queen is worth more than like a pawn, right? Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So like
Well,
rooks are worth 5 points actually,
uh-huh.
and bishops and knights are 3 points each. So if I
Okay.
wanted, I could just use my dark square bishop to take your rook. That would be
Yeah.
one option, and then it would basically be saying, all right, I'm going to get $5, and then like let's say you recapture with your knight or your pawn, then you get $3, right? So it's
Yeah.
basically like currency. So I could take your rook right now if I wanted.
Yeah.
And so that's one option of mine, but I'm not going to do that right here, because I'm opting for more development, and I'm going to do so by just pushing my pawn out. Typically, it would be it's a decent idea to win more material when you can, to win more points when you can.
Would you like if you weren't if you were playing to win competitively right then, would you have taken it?
If I Okay, so my bishop is on a very good diagonal, and it's hitting this weak pawn on f2. It's
Yeah.
also has some really good central squares. But yeah, I'm pretty sure I would have taken it if this was like a really competitive game.
Yeah.
And for another reason being because then, like, let's say you recaptured with your knight would have very a few squares it could move. Like if your knight ever hopped down here, I could always just kick it out by playing by playing a6 and attacking it, and then your knight would just have to run back. But yeah, just winning a 5-point piece for a 3-point piece is usually what you want to do.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well,
I'm going to change the category to chess because this technically is chess. we're not in the fitness and health category anymore. All right, there we go. One Sluggy, you say yes on for defense, and yeah, and you bring up a good point. One Sluggy just brought up a really good point. You typically want to castle for defense, right? You want to keep your king safe. I'm sorry, One Sluggy, I didn't see that for a while. But yeah, you want to keep your king safe. So, oh yeah, I haven't been able to see the chat. That's a problem. All right, let me move the chat over here.
Yeah.
Now I can see the chat. All right, cool. All right. Oh, it's my turn. It's my turn. All right. So
Yeah.
I didn't even see that either. Let's see, Evelyn. What did you do? You moved your pawn out, right?
No, I thought I better get my rook out of harm's way.
Yeah, that's right. You slid the rook over. You slid the rook over. All right, my bad. Okay. So this is interesting. So now your rook right here is honing in on the b7 pawn, right? Currently I have a defender of b7. So as long as my bishop is here, I don't have to worry about you sliding down here and taking my pawn because that would be a bad trade for you, right? But let's see. I could do something like knight to a5 and attack the rook, right? And then force your rook to have to move again. And in fact, I think that is what I'm going to do. So I'm playing knight to a5, and now notice I'm attacking your rook again.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, so what you did is called a fork. This is a chess tactic. Notice when Evelyn moved her rook to b5, it's attacking my bishop and my knight, right? So I have two pieces under attack. Now currently, my bishop is being protected by this pawn right here, right, on d6. So I don't have to worry that much about you taking my bishop. My knight is currently under fire, though. Okay, so I have a cool way of defending my knight and throwing a punch at your rook. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to actually push up my pawn to c6.
Yeah.
So now notice the pawn is attacking your rook, and my queen now is defending the knight. So this is a discovered defense right here, right? So because when the pawn was here, it was blocking the queen's scope, right? The queen couldn't get over there, but now the queen can. So now I have the pawn attacking your rook, and if you do decide to take the knight, I can just recapture with the queen. But you're running out of squares to move the rook to, actually.
I am. I feel like I'm about to lose it no matter what I do. Unless I just
there's really
I'm
not.
thinking like it's just taking your most valuable one, which is
exactly. That's the perfect mentality you want. So there are some times in chess where it's like, okay, I'm not in a good situation. I'm going to lose a piece, or I'm going to run into some kind of difficulty. How can I make this the best possible situation? So you're gonna probably want to take either my bishop or my knight, and you want to think which piece is more valuable.
Is the bishop more than the knight?
Both pieces are technically worth 3 points, but people typically say bishops are slightly stronger, especially in open games.
Yeah, I reckon too.
Yeah. Okay, that's a great move, and also notice something else here that's really cool. So you took my bishop. This pawn right here is tied down to defense of the e5 pawn, right? So now when I recapture your rook, you now have a way to win this pawn. Do you see it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you're actually getting some decent compensation for that lost rook.
True. 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 Um, you mean this
Perfect.
one?
There you go.
Yeah.
All right. So now, yeah, in chess, you have to think. Okay, well, what did you gain and what did you lose? You lost your rook, which is not great. But at the same time, you were able to get a bishop, and this was a very strong bishop because it was eyeing this weak f2 square and it was on a great diagonal. And
Yeah.
you got my pawn right here, which is awesome. So you got 4 points for 5. So that's not that bad of a deal. Your knight is very well positioned. Knights are strongest in these 4 central squares. And the reason why there's okay, picture a knight in the corner, right? If a knight's in the corner, it can only move to 2 squares, right? It can only move to 2 squares. If a knight is on the side mid, it can only move to 4 squares, right? Assuming like pieces aren't blocking it. But a knight in the center can move to, look, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And this goes along with the theme of piece mobility, right? So your knight is a beast right now. All right, your knight is super strong right here in the center of the board. Now, when your opponent has a piece that is really strong, you want to try to remove it from its location or get rid of the piece. Okay. I currently can't. I currently have no way of attacking, of directly taking your knight. Right. So what I want to do is I want to say, get out of here, knight. And so I'm going to push my pawn to f6. And now this is throwing an attack, throwing a punch at your knight. So now it's going to force your knight to either have to move or you're going to have to lose the knight.
Yeah, or I could just move my b2 pawn up to attack your knight.
Now that's another option. Absolutely, yeah. My knight, by the way, my knight's trapped.
What'd you do?
But hold on. But there's a problem. There's a problem with that move. So if you play your b2 pawn to b4, you always have to think.
Yeah.
Well, can I just take your b4 pawn? So you have to.
Well, you get another pawn there.
Yeah, I have this pawn, so I would just take it, and then I'd be safe, right?
Yeah. Yep. Okay. All right. Let me see.
So your knight, the main thing to consider, the salient factor, is that your knight is being attacked, and you don't want to just lose your knight for free. So, is there a square you can move it to where it's just where it will be safe?
Yeah. I was just double checking that there wasn't another way I can pose an attack on a more important piece.
Got
of
it.
yours
Yeah.
To tell you. So I was just having a bit of a scan around the board to be like, is there any other option that I can do here?
Well, that's exactly what you want to do. That's a great chess player mentality. It's called an in-between move, right? Sometimes you have a piece that's being attacked, right? And instead of just moving it, sometimes you can find an in-between move, and you can actually just get your instead of dealing with the initial threat, the immediate threat, you can do something that will make me have to respond, and that's huge in chess, right? Whoever has control of the timing of the tempo has an advantage. So right now, I currently have control, but I don't see a good in between move that you can do, in the process. So you probably just want to move your knight somewhere safe. Oh, hey, right. Victor Soares here. Good to see you, friend. And Danny John. All right, we get the whole crew here. Danny John, it's so good seeing you as always. And then Victor Soar, hello. How are you, friend? Victor Soar is a very good chess player, and he's another fellow streamer. So, yeah. All right, cool.
All right. Should be pretty safe down here.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, that's what's called an only move. That's really the only move there that's going to work. But notice you lost what's called a tempo, right? Because you had to come back here with your knight, and then you had to come back. So you lost a little time, right?
Yeah.
Another thing to note is when your knight was here on e5, it was defending this g4 pawn. So now what I can do is I can actually come over here with my bishop if I so choose, and I'm going to actually and take the pawn and win this pawn on G4 right here.
Mm-hmm.
Now this may look great, but there is a weakness to this move as well, and that is, notice my king, right? So you'll be able to eventually slide your rook over if you want, and have your rook in line with my king, and maybe start creating some threats on your own.
Yeah. So in your next move, you could take my knight, but then you'll probably lose it to my pawn after that.
Correct. If I take your knight, your pawn will recapture, and that would be what's called an even trade. 3 points for 3 points. As far as material goes, positionally, you'd be a little bit weaker off because you would have what's called doubled isolated pawns. You'd have a pawn on f2 and a pawn on f3. And when pawns don't have pawns on adjacent files supporting them, they're weaker because I can pick them off easier because you don't have a pawn that could defend it. So that is one option. So here's let me pose a question for you. What is a piece that you have somewhere on this back rank that you have not developed yet, that you haven't moved yet, that you could use to defend this knight?
So there's the other knight.
Yep. The knight is one move. You could move the knight to
There's
d2.
the bishop, and then there's the other rook, which I could move, which you just mentioned about it coming out towards in front of the king.
You could move. Yeah, you could move if you move the rook and throw a counterpunch at the bishop. Then I would probably simply just take the knight, and you would recapture. Then you would have these double isolated pawns, which would be a weakness. You have this bishop move, right? Which would defend defend the knight in case I take, and then you also have this knight move. So those are probably your three candidate moves right there. Another idea would be to do something like this to push out this pawn and allow your queen to defend it. Because notice when this pawn's here, the queen doesn't have defense. The problem with this move is your knight is going to be what's called pinned to the queen. So if this knight moves anywhere, I can take your queen, but you could remedy it by putting your bishop in between. I mean, I know this is a lot. I know this is a ton of material.
I don't know. I think I might do the knight option.
Okay, cool. Yeah, Victor Sor. So what's going on with you, man? How's everything? How's life going with you? I'm trying out this guest star, and things are. It took a little while to get set up, but now things are rolling. We're rolling along. And those of you who don't know me, I'm Agni James, and this is Evelyn Yoga, and she's a yogi, and I'm a yogi too, and we also play chess. I've been teaching it IRL, and she is learning the game as well.
Yeah. I'm gonna do this one.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, so that's a solid move. Now, if I capture your knight, you can simply recapture here. All right, so now it is my turn. When you don't know what to do, like sometimes in chess, you're like, I don't know what to do. I don't have a plan. You need to come up with a plan. That's like a very, it sounds obvious, but I have this knight right here, which is a pretty weak piece, right? This knight is not doing much. It's kind of blocked off. I can't move here or here because those are my own pawns, and you can't move on your own piece. I can't move over here. This knight really can't go anywhere. If I ever take the pawn, you could just recapture. So one idea is I want to try to get this knight in a better position. So I'm looking at ideas of pushing to b6 with a follow-up of an idea of bringing my knight down to b7 and then maybe rerouting it. So that's one idea. Another thing is this rook and this rook are not really helpful right now. They're not doing much. So I would love to have my rook on e8 in line with your king. And then this knight would be better suited on and probably on like f5 or something. But the main thing that I'm going to do is just try to get this knight in a better square because I don't like how weird it is just kind of sitting on the side of the board. So I'm simply going to play b6. not with the idea of maybe bringing my knight out here at some point and then rerouting it. Let's see, Victor, sorry, you say going well. You're working on your studies, getting published in a journal. Nice. And you're also waiting to hear back from PhD programs. Oh, that is cool. That is totally cool. Well, I really hope you get into the program that you want, and yeah, I hope it goes well, man. That's awesome that you're pursuing your PhD. Evelyn just got her master's. Evelyn and I we're lowly masters. Actually, hold on, this is kind of interesting. So Evelyn and I both have our master's degrees. So does Danny John, and then Danny John has her PhD. And you're going for your PhD, so we get a lot of academics in this chat. Okay, so Evelyn, this is a great move, right? Okay, so yeah, your rook now is on a great diagonal, right? It's attacking it's attacking my bishop, right? So I don't want to lose my bishop, so I could defend it by maybe moving my queen up, or I could just move my bishop somewhere else. In this situation, I'm going to simply. Let's see, what am I going to do? I'm just going to retreat my bishop right here. The idea is I'm keeping pressure on your knight, and I'm getting it out of harm's way. Yeah, so that's kind of my idea with that.
I'm just going to be really aggressive.
Okay. Ooh! That is okay. So that's super aggressive. That is the most. That's about as aggressive as you could possibly be. I think that is literally the most aggressive move you could have made. All right. So you're just like, all right, you know, fuck it. She's just like fuck it. All right. I'm going after your king. I'm going for this. I'm going for this guy. Right now. So now my first response obviously is to take the rook, but I want to see if there's any sneaky follow-ups. I'm not seeing any sneaky follow-ups. So I'm simply gonna take the rook. All right, but okay. Now you lost your rook, but you made my king pretty vulnerable, right? Your king is actually a lot safer than with all these defenders around it than my king. But yeah. The question is, can you continue the attack? That is the question.
Right. It's just how I keep myself entertained in chess, because it's easy for me to get bullets. I'm like, oh fuck it, I'm just gonna go hard. Yeah. No, like that's the thing. Like I don't have a plan of what I'm gonna do.
Okay, well, in chess they say even a bad plan is better than no plan at all. So you might want to try to come up with a plan, even if it's bad. Just try to come up with something.
Yeah, it's not like I'm not quite. Oh, I need to be taught to think in that way, kind of thing. Like
got it. Yeah.
I'm not really. Yeah. All right. Now,
Danny John, how are you doing tonight? How's everything going with you? And JT, where have you been? You've disappeared into the abyss. Are you still around, JT? Where are you? I think JT went into hiding. She can't handle all this chess. Oh, it's my turn. It's my turn. You moved. Okay. All right. So by the way, I think that is a great idea. So when the knight was over here, when this knight was on D2, notice how it was blocking the scope of this bishop, right? As soon as this knight moved out here, now this bishop can come out and it can start possibly attacking my king later on, right? Once you get the right follow up, right? Okay.
Yeah.
So this also is a very good central square for your knight. Like I said earlier, these 4 squares are traditionally the best squares for your knight to be on. You want your knights in the center because they can control more area. A lot of people don't know this, but chess is a war game. So if you control more of the map, then you are going to have a strategic advantage. So your knights are pretty well placed. Now, sure, I could take this knight and cause a structural weakness in your position. And it's something I'm considering doing, but I'm not sure if I'm going to go ahead with it yet. We will see. I notice my knight over here is really weak because it's just on the edge of the board doing nothing. I can't hop in here because you'll just take it. I can't hop here, obviously. I could hop back here, but this is really slow to move my knight around here. So what I'm going to do is since you're attacking, you're going after my king, and you have this bishop right here. I'm going to do what's called, and since I'm up material, I have both of your rooks. I'm going to trade down, and this is a very important concept in chess. When you are up in material, that means like when you have more points than your opponent. All else being equal, you want to trade pieces. So right now, I'm going to take my bishop, and I'm going to take your knight. All right, because it's a 3-point piece for a 3-point piece, and there's going to be less pressure on my king with this knight gone. So that's my idea right now. Perfect. Yeah. Okay. So that was your best move. So now you were able to just at least recapture my bishop. Okay. So my king is vulnerable, but I have this weak knight over here. My rooks are out of play. They're not doing anything right now. They're pretty sad rooks right now. They're very sad. They're unhappy rooks. I want to get them alive. I want to get them doing something. And I want to get my queen active. My queen is very weak right now too. So I am going to. Looks like I want to activate my queen, and a good square to activate my queen to would be d4. I think this is probably ideal. My queen it's in the center of the board. The only thing I have to worry about, my only concern is that if you play like bishop out, your bishop would have a great diagonal, it'd be attacking my queen. Your knight and your bishop would be honed in on c5. But if your bishop comes out, then I'll have the idea of hopping over here and taking this undefended pawn with my queen then. So I'm going to actually go ahead with this idea. I feel like this is a pretty strong threat right here, and then also I can get my knight into action eventually if your bishop does come out, and I win this pawn. Let's see. Oh, Victor, sorry, you're saying let's see. Victor, sorry, and Danny, you're talking. Danny, you're talking. Oh, you're talking about your unified theory of psychology. Awesome, cool. And JT, you're listening and cooking. All right, good. I like to hear that. You're a really good multitasker. I can only do one thing at a time usually. That's why things go the way they do in my life. But I usually just go all in on depth and less on breadth. Okay. All right. So this is okay. Oh, you moved. I'm sorry, Evelyn. Sorry about that. I was dealing with chat, discussing.
That's okay.
Things. Okay.
I just shifted my queen a little bit.
Cool. All right. Yeah, you did what's called developing your queen. Your queen has now been developed. All right. So now I need a plan. My rook right here is really sad. It's just staring at the back of this pawn. It's like, hey, this rook wants to move, but it's just kind of sitting there doing nothing, right? So I want to get my rook active. So I'm going to actually move my rook right over. Well, yeah, right over here. I'm moving my rook right there. That's my idea. The reason I'm doing that is because notice my position of my rook in line with your king, right? Like let's say these two knights are off the board, then this would be my rook would be checking your king. So it's kind of an interesting idea to get your rooks and bishops in line with your opponent's king, even if there's pieces in between.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Let's go back. All right. Okay, so yes, now your bishop's there, and that's blocking it. That's blocking this line, which is not bad. And your bishop is developed, which is good too. You want to get your pieces developed early, okay? So this knight right here is not doing much. I want to get this knight active. My knights are in terrible positions, but I'm up material. That's the compensation I have. I want to get this knight a little more active, so I'm going to simply bring my knight over here. My knight would love to hop into f4, but it can't currently because your bishop is on this diagonal controlling that square. Victor, sorry, you say the trade does so much more than just trade, though. Yeah, right. The trade does do a lot, right? The trade we were talking about when my bishop took the knight, it gave Evelyn double isolated pawns. Let's go back over there. These two double isolated pawns right here, a single isolated pawn over here, right? And And yeah, basically it just kind of demolished the pawn structure a little bit over there on the king side. And then yeah, you said Victor. Sorry, you say indeed the rook is about to become much happier. Yeah, when the rook was out there, it was happier. It was definitely bearing down on the king, right?
I don't really know what to do.
Okay, well here this is a very instructive moment. All right,
Yeah.
when you don't know what to do, think about what piece of yours that is not doing that much. Like which one of your pieces is kind of just sitting around. It hasn't moved or hasn't moved much, and how can you make it much more active? Try to find a piece that's just kind of just sitting there, not doing too much.
Well, maybe the bishop on
Exactly.
C.
Exactly. That is the major problem with your position right now is your bishop on c1. It's just sitting there. You want to be a fighter. You want to get your bishop aggressive and attacking. Where can you put that bishop such that you can start going after me? You can start attacking me. Throw a punch at one of my most valuable pieces.
I mean, there's. I can put it like next to. I can put it like next to my knight. Like there's nowhere really to put it close to you where you won't just take it. So
Well, you got to remember too. All right, like there are sometimes like for instance, like let's say you moved it. You're talking about next to the knight, right here. Were you talking about, or where were you? What
like
square were
next
you
to
talking?
my knight, so that's like f4.
Okay, if you come to f4, my knight will just be able to take it.
Yeah,
So
and
that's that.
then
Yeah, that's not going to be your best. You have a strong idea with this bishop. You have a place you can put this bishop and throw a punch at my most valuable piece.
well, yeah, but can't the king then just take it?
My
Like if
okay,
I
like here, are you talking about if you move to e3?
uh no, that's your queen. Your queen can take it, and then I
Okay,
can take it.
yeah. But that's what you want to think, right? With trades and chess,
Okay.
right? If you move your
Yeah.
bishop yeah, if you move your bishop to e3, would I
E3.
want to take your bishop?
Maybe not.
Because yeah, right. Because your pawn will just recapture my queen, and then you would be trading a 3-point piece for a 9-point piece, right? And so that would be a great trade for you, right?
Because I'll take like you'll have to move it one way or
Exactly.
another. Okay. Yeah. All right. Got it.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a super strong move, right? The idea is this bishop was not doing much there. It was just kind of sitting there. But now it's active and it's throwing a punch at my best piece. So now I'm forced to have to move this queen somewhere else, right? While you gain time, you were able to develop your bishop. So that right there is a really really good idea. All right, so I got to find a safe square for my queen. Um, let's see. I'm gonna hop back all the way over here.
Okay.
Victor, sir, you say you were thinking about activating your E file for your rook specifically. Oh, okay, all right, that's what you were talking about. Yeah, yeah, I hear what you're saying. Let's see, let me go back there. Yeah, with the rook on the E file, I mean that's huge, right? That's huge. I mean, now sure, there's a bunch of pieces blocked here, but I had ideas of playing F5, right, when dislodging the knight earlier on, and then the knight would be able to move because of the pin of the rook to the king. So yeah, absolutely. All right, cool. Yeah, Victor Sora and Danny John. We have two people that are. Danny John's already got her PhD in psychology, and you're going to go for your PhD. That's cool. You two should communicate about that stuff.
I will never do a PhD.
Yeah, I'm burned out after my masters. I'm done.
same. I'm like, I'm never studying again. I hate it so much.
Oh, you moved. I didn't even know. I didn't even see. I didn't even see you moved again. Okay, so I think
Yeah.
you played F4. All right. This is a good idea. This is a very good idea. I like this idea because notice when the pawn was here, it was obstructing your bishop, right? Your bishop couldn't move through here. But now you have this bishop here, and you could always come down here maybe and pin my knight to my rook, right? You have all sorts of ideas. All right. So I don't want you to be able to get this bishop very active, right? I don't want you to be able to get your bishop there. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw my queen over here and start and prevent your bishop from coming down to h5. But notice how your pieces, they're slowly becoming more active. And we'll go over that after the game. I'll explain a few things about that.
Okay. Mm. Mm.
So whenever your opponent makes a move, you want to think, okay, well, what is their threat, right? So I moved my queen right here. I'm attacking one of your undefended pieces. Do you see which one?
Yeah, like I know you can take that pawn
Yep.
and
I'm,
then you're getting closer to the king.
yeah, I am attacking the pawn, and in this situation, it doesn't look like there's a good way to defend the pawn. And yes, exactly, I'm getting closer to the king. Then I'll start having checking ideas, on the first rank, right? This rank
Yeah.
right here. But remember, your king could always just kind of dodge it and escape down to d2.
Yeah, and I've got that bishop there. I was kind of thinking of moving my queen up to threaten your knight so that you
Okay.
might have to move that, or you can take my pawn, but I'll take your knight, maybe.
Well, you're talking about moving like your queen maybe to like d2 or to
C3?
c3. Okay,
C3.
c
Yeah,
c3.
sorry, because you got a pawn there. It's all right.
Yeah,
I've seen it. I
but
see it.
here's the thing. Let me tell you something though. C3
Yeah.
is actually pretty strong for another reason. Notice with c3, you're gonna have two pieces then attacking my f6 pawn, and this is the defender of my king, right? Now currently I have two pieces defending, but think about this diagonal. That's a much stronger diagonal for your queen than this diagonal, right? Because on this diagonal, it's currently blocked in by a couple pieces, right? And remember, piece mobility. It's all about piece mobility in chess.
Okay. All
So
right.
that would be a good move.
That's a good move.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Let's do it.
All right. It also keeps this rook having to stay here, right? I have to keep my rook here as a defender because you have this very strong knight and queen converging on my pawn right here. If you could somehow get a third attacker here, I'd be in some trouble. All right. So this knight, I'm looking at this position, and this knight's kind of garbage, right? Just kind of sitting there. Let's see. I think I can give you more time too. I think I can give you more time. Let me see if I can do this. 'Cause I don't want you to run out of time. Yeah, here we go. I'll throw some more time your way, and then we won't have to worry about that. I just kind of threw an arbitrary amount of time on the clock initially to. All right, there we go. Okay, cool. All right. Anyways, all right. So, yeah, this is our position. So this knight is garbage. He's just kind of hanging out here. My queen is really active. I'm going to go ahead with my plan and going for the attack. So I'm taking this pawn.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a little hard to find a plan, right? In this position,
Yeah.
it's a little hard to get moving to figure something out. One
I
thing
was
you might
thinking just moving a pawn like
well,
that.
okay, exactly.
Yeah.
Which pawn were you thinking of moving? If
The
you right, by the way, if you
B2,
which one?
B2.
That okay, you could do the b2 pawn. I will say this though. There's another pawn that you have that you could move that would be way stronger to move, and it would throw a punch at one of my pieces.
Um, the F4 what?
Exactly. Yeah. That's a
Okay.
killer. That's a very strong move. That's a very
Okay.
strong move.
All right.
And I'll show you why. So no, because remember, a piece mobility, right? That's kind of been like the key to this game right here. So remember before when you had the pawn here, it was blocking this bishop, right? This bishop could move
Yeah.
when this pawn was over here, when this pawn was over
Yeah.
here, and then you pushed it, and then it was blocking the scope of this bishop, right? But now that the pawn's all the way out here, look at your bishops. They've come
Yeah.
alive. They're super
Yeah.
strong now. And my king is very vulnerable right now because your bishops are controlling a lot of key squares. Also, you're throwing a punch at my knight. So now I have to deal with the fact that my knight's being attacked and you have very good piece mobility right there as well. Okay, so your game is your game is definitely starting to come alive. You're starting to see it. Now, I could throw like a check over here, but you can just easily dodge it, by running your king to d2. So, all right. By the way, when I say over here, like, are you able to see the screen? Like, are you seeing the arrows and everything?
I'm just actually looking at the game, but I knew what you meant.
Okay. All right. All right. Well, then
Because I'm
I'll
looking at the game in a separate window because I'm streaming as well.
got it.
So that
Okay.
on my stream it's just the game. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool. All right. Okay. So yeah. Right now, the immediate threat is pawn takes knight. So I'm looking to see if I have an in between move. That's what we were talking about earlier, right? To see if I can throw like a counter punch that's stronger. I have these checks, but like I already said, they don't do much. And by the way, in chess, they say that the potential is more important than the execution a lot of times. So right here, if I throw the check, your king just runs. But maybe later on, if I throw the check, something better will happen. So I want to maintain this ability to throw the check either on G1 or on H1. I want to be able to maintain that. So I'm just going to get rid of this immediate threat, and I'm going to move my knight to, let's see, I don't know. Let's see. Where's a good square for my knight? I'm looking at playing my knight to E5, but then I just have to calculate whether pawn to F4 would trap my knight. No, I mean I could always hop my knight back, but it's not great, but it's decent. So all right, I'm just gonna move my knight. My knight is now in one of the center four squares, so my knight is actually pretty strong there.
Okay. I don't know what to do again now.
It's tough. It's tough to find a plan sometimes in chess.
Yeah.
Let's see. Well, okay. So one thing is that the way my pawns are situated. Let me get rid of this. The way the pawns are situated, it's kind of making it difficult for you to maneuver your pieces, right? You would love it if these three pawns were not here, your pieces would be very active, right? Your bishop would be super active. This pawn would be able to come out and attack, right? Like all your pieces would be coming through. So sometimes even trades are actually going to be super beneficial on a positional level. So like this pawn right here is not really doing anything, right? The pawn on B2, it's just sitting there. But if you took it and you came down to like B4, that's throwing a good punch at it's forking my pawn and my knight. And if I take, you could always take with your queen, and then your queen's going to be super active, right?
Yeah. True. Okay. Yeah.
Perfect. All right, I think that's great. Now I don't want to just move my knight, because if I just move my knight, then you take, and then I take, and then you'll be able to take on C5. Basically, you're going to have a lot of pressure on C5. So I'm going to take on B4, And now I have a major threat since I captured on b4. What am I threatening?
My queen.
Correct. So you don't want to lose your queen. So what's a good way for you to not lose your queen here?
Just take the
Yeah,
pawn.
there you go. And now notice, look at this beautiful queen diagonal, right? Your queen was over here. It was good when the knight was not here, but when this knight was here, it kind of blocked everything up, right? The piece mobility was kind of it was like when your chakras are blocked, right? You know, you can't do much, right? But now look at this. Your queen's on this beautiful diagonal. Your bishop's on this beautiful diagonal. This bishop's everything's opening up. Everything's opening up, right? So now in chess, it's kind of like the opposite of getting your chakras open and cleansed. You want to try to sometimes block your opponent from having their having open lines for all their pieces, right? So
Yeah.
so I'm gonna actually I'm gonna block. Hey, hold on real quick. Aristotle, thank you so much for the raid, buddy. Much appreciated. Aristotle is a awesome streamer here on Twitch. He's a great dude, super nice guy. Hey, Shane, I am giving Evelyn Yoga, the one and only Evelyn Yoga, a chess lesson. She knows just like the basic piece movements, but I'm giving her a lesson on basically chess. So we're going through the game, and then we're going to do some analysis afterwards. Anyone who's big into chess should like this. Those of you who don't know me, my name's Agni James, and I primarily stream guided meditations here on Twitch. I'm also a chess instructor IRL, so we do chess streams. I also have a master's in philosophy, so I do philosophy streams where we focus on philosophy of mind, philosophy of science, and metaphysics. All right, so Evelyn, and Evelyn is a yogi. She's a yogi. She's a yoga streamer on Twitch as well. So check her out and drop her a follow. Good to see you, Eris. What were you streaming today, man? How's everything going? Okay, let's see. So right here, this queen is super active. So I want to try to block the scope of this queen, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to push out to c5. Now notice I'm throwing a punch at your queen, and your queen mobility is severely impeded now, right? Your queen cannot come out anymore. So like basically I'm stuffing everything up. I'm trying to block everything up here. So that's why I did that.
Yep.
Let's see,
Okay.
Aristotle, you say I'm just shooting the shit, man. First day of classes, so getting back in the routine. Yeah, first day of classes. Aristotle's also a philosophy professor, a college professor, IRL. So that's cool, man. How'd the first day of classes go? Did you blow everyone's mind? Did you show them some shocking things? Did you have you converted the entire class into philosophers yet? Because I expect that from you, man. I expect, like, if I take your class, that like every single student will be a philosopher. Like, 20 minutes into the class, we'll want to do nothing but pursue philosophy. Pursue philosophy. All right. Oh, it's my turn. Okay, sorry about that. All right, Evelyn made a good move. She brought her queen to safety, right? This pawn was attacking the queen on b4, so she's like, oh, I'm going to move my queen to c3, right? And then get it back on this diagonal. Okay, there you go. Perfect. Now notice this knight is still garbage. This knight is just hanging out here on the side of the board. It's really making me mad, right? It's not doing anything. This queen could throw this check at any point, but then the king has a nice escape square to d2. So I need to get this knight more active. The knight on a5. It's doing nothing. Knights are strongest in the center. So I am going to do so by moving my knight to c6. My knight now is much better placed on c6, and because it's more centralized. We went over that earlier. Knights in the center of the board are way stronger than knights in the corners or on the edge of the board. In the center of the board, they control more key squares, and they can move to 8 squares. And knights in the corner can only move to two lonely squares, right? And knights on the rim are dim. So knights on the edges of the board are also weak as well. All right, so Evelyn's got a beautiful scope of these two bishops. These two bishops are eyeing my king, but the queen is kind of blocked off right now, right? The queen is a little bit blocked off, and it's going to be tough to find a good way to open all this up. Let's see. Let's see, Shane. By the way, and Shane is a streamer here on Twitch as well. Good to see you, friend. Shane is a history buff. He's a history buff, and I believe you're also a college professor. I think another PhD. We always get all the PhDs and people with masters in this stream for some reason. I don't get it. I don't get it. It always works out that way. And then Shane, you say your shirt is better than the rest. So says Bush. This is the old machine head. This was from was from the Blackening tour in when was it? I think 2012ish, maybe sometime around then. It was a long time ago. I don't remember whenever the album The Blackening came out. Okay, let's get back to chess. Evelyn. Okay, so right now you're in kind of a tough position. How can you start throwing? Okay, when you're down material and when things are rough, a lot of times you want to start throwing punches. You want to start throwing punches at my pieces. So you have a pawn on f2 that's just kind of hanging out. It's aiding in a little bit as a defensive piece, but you want to try to gain control of. You want to start trying to gain some control over the board. How can you? What can you do with this pawn to attack one of my pieces?
Yeah, so I can move it to attack your knight, because even if you take my bishop, I can take your queen with my king.
Exactly.
So you would be
perfect.
Yeah.
That is exactly how chess players think. It's all if then statements. And I found something cool. Eris, you might appreciate this. It was only 3,000 years ago that human beings developed the capacity to think with if then statements. They didn't even have that capacity prior to 3,000 years ago. Apparently, that's at least that's what I just read. Assuming the book is correct. Sometimes I just assume the book's correct, because it was by someone I value as a speaker. All right, okay. So anyways, Evelyn played the move pawn to f4, right? So her threat is she's attacking my knight. So now I need to. So she's now pushing me back. She's pushing me around. She's beating me up a little bit. All right. So I got to find a square for this knight. All right. So where can I move this knight to now? I got to find a good square to move this knight to. That was actually a pretty strong move because this knight was a very strong piece. Okay. I only have really one decent square to go to with my knight, and that's all the way back here, which is a pretty sad square. But I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna move my knight back here. Notice also this adds another defender to f6. So Evelyn's got the knight and the queen on f6, attacking f6, but I have the rook, the knight, and the king. And you always count attackers and defenders. That's another thing, Evelyn. So you always want to say like, oh, how many attackers, does my opponent have, and how many defenders do I have? Currently, I have plenty of defenders, so you don't want to go through. I'm giving you more seconds on your clock, so we don't have to worry about that either. And then we'll just go from there. All right. There we go. Okay, cool. Uh-oh, hold on. I think everything just went. Everything might have just gone black there for a second. Let's. There we go. All right, we're all good. We're all good. When everything went black on my end, not a good sign always, right? All right. So let's minimize this. Okay, so Evelyn, what are you thinking about in this position? Like what?
I'm thinking about.
So how? Okay. So one thing you might want to consider is okay, well, how can you push forward? Because remember, chess is a war game, right? So the person who owns more of the center is going to have a strategic advantage. So how can you maybe push forward and create a trade that will benefit you? And it doesn't have to be a dramatic move. It doesn't have to be like a wild queen move or something. But there's just a way to slowly push forward and put some pressure on me. Actually, no, it's not going to work in this situation. I was looking at pawn to d4, but then that would remove the pawn's defense of the knight on e4, and I could just take it. So that's actually not gonna work.
I was kind of actually looking at moving my knight up,
Hmm.
but because I know it'll get taken, but it's still, yeah.
Well,
Wow.
to what square are you talking about? To D6?
Uh, yes, but I don't know if I. Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
you could if you move your, so one thing to note is that this your knight on E4 is what's called pinned to the bishop on E3, such that if this knight on E4 ever moves, my rook can come on over here and take the bishop. Right?
yeah,
So that would be a little bit problematic.
yeah. What about? Uh, can I? I'm just wondering if I can move my queen somewhere, but. Uh,
I mean, there. I see one decent square for your queen. Like you could always put your queen on like B2. B2 is a decent try, right? Because the idea then, if you play like queen to B2, and then you push forward. Well, actually, no, it wouldn't work there because of the pawn. But your queen is a little more active on B2. That's one idea. Or you could do like a quiet move and move your king to D2, and that would
mm,
that's just, it doesn't do a lot, but it just kind of gets your king safer.
yeah, true. Because at some stage you're probably going to move your queen down there anyway, so I may as well. Yeah, I think that's a good move.
Yeah, it's like you're preempting me, right? It's like I will no longer.
Yeah,
Yeah, now I no longer have the potential of moving my queen to G1 or to H1 with check, right? So it's like a good
yeah,
defensive move, right? All
yeah,
right.
yep.
Okay, so now it's my turn. So what am I gonna do here? All right. Let's see. Um. Huh. All right. So I don't. Okay. My rooks are my rook on F8 is pretty blocked. It's not doing it. It's not doing a ton. But it is defending the F6 square, and I'm starting to run a little bit low on time, so I actually have to speed up a little bit. So let's see. Let's do.
You have to beat me, Agni, so you may as well just smash it out at the end. You can't
Yeah.
let me win.
I'm not gonna. I won't be letting you win. I don't even let 6-year-olds win. I don't even let 6-year-olds win.
Yeah,
So, all right. Okay.
good. That's
I'm
good.
repositioning my queen. I'm gonna reposition my queen to H3. All right. So my queen is now on H3.
All right.
Let's see. Oh, juggling biohazards. Hey, good to see you, friend. You say chess stream nice, looking like a good game. Yeah, yeah. Evelyn and I are playing some chess. We're having a good time. Um, it's just it's a very instructive game, and it's going to be really cool to go through the analysis at the end. My goal is to make her twice as strong of a chess player in just this one lesson. So we will see. We will see.
I've definitely learned some stuff so far. So,
Yeah.
um, I don't know. Um, mm, what if I moved? What if I just moved that pawn in 4A, just up one?
Yeah, I mean
We,
it's an idea. The only issue with it right now, well, I mean it's actually it's a decent idea because it would dislodge my knight. My knight would take because I would want to maintain this pawn. This is called a pawn chain. These three pawns. Notice how this pawn supports this one, and the pawn on B6 supports the pawn on B5. So if you pushed, I would take with the knight, and then I would maintain the pawn chain. But the one thing you'd get out of it is that my knight would be on the edge of the board, right? My knight would be, and that's a little bit of a weakness to have your knight on the edge of the board. Um, yeah, there's not a ton of, to be honest, there's not a ton of great ideas that I'm seeing for your position because you're down a lot of material because I have both of the rooks. So
yeah. Unless I do the pawn at D3, if I move that up, one.
Okay, if you move the pawn to on d now, that would also that's also it's a good idea, but the only issue is remember that pawn is the only defender of the knight
Yeah,
on e4, right? So like
yeah,
if the pawn pushes, then I could just come up here and win the knight. I mean, but
yeah,
those are exactly the pawn breaks that you want to be thinking of. Those are
yeah,
exactly the right ideas. They just strategically they just they don't quite work out. But I mean, you know, it's
yeah. Is it slim pickings at the moment?
I mean one thing you might want to consider is let's see what else could you do here? Uh,
King sideways or something? Or
yeah, I mean you could always you know what running your king from like to like c2 and then maybe over on down to b3. Well, no,
yeah,
you can't do it now though because the king is the only defender of the bishop on e3. So like
yeah.
we're running out of good options. Um, let's see. Hold on. What would I do if I was in your position? Uh, what about? No, that's not going to work either, man. I don't know. Maybe this is a good place to play to end this one possibly.
That's all right. I'll just do, yeah,
Or
like to
unless you
end
see,
it.
yeah, or just go with whatever you feel. Go with whatever you feel. No, I mean we
Yeah,
don't need to
I'll just do
explore.
that one.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean at least you're gonna force my knight to take, right? I could always just take.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll take, and then my knight is on the edge of the board, which is pretty weak, right? You removed a good piece from the edge, or a good piece to the edge. I mean.
Yeah. Okay.
It,
Yeah. And now I still don't know what to do.
this is tricky. This is not easy.
Yeah.
The problem is if your knight on e4 like moves anywhere, like let's say you like hop into like d6 with your knight, I'm gonna have my
Yeah.
queen and my rook converging on the bishop on e3. So I'll be able to just take that bishop with check, and then you wouldn't be able to recapture with your king because you'd be moving into check. So basically, yeah, this is a very difficult position to be in. Trying to see if there's anything if there's any kind of hope in this position. You know what? Maybe getting your queen repositioned. Like, what if you brought your queen to like c1 and then you kind of swung it over to like g1 and started checking my king, right? That would be a pretty active idea, right?
To see one.
Yeah, your queen. If you
Oh,
queen
yeah.
queen to c1, and then you can bring it on over to g1 and start checking my king and putting pressure on my king. That's at least active, right?
Yeah. That is good.
Okay, so now that's a serious threat. Actually, that's a pretty serious threat. So I got to be careful here. Notice my knight on a5's out of play. So I'm gonna sidestep the check by moving my king. By moving my king to h8. So now if your queen does come over to g1, it at least won't be hitting with check. It won't be checking my king. But your queen is more active now. You can bring it over to the other side of the board now if you want. Yeah, and I won't. There was a tactic that I had that I missed right there, but I won't tell you about that tactic just quite yet. We'll go over that in the analysis.
Okay.
Okay, let's see. Victor Store, you say you think the psychological theory. Hold on a second. Why is that coming up? Psychological theories that are dorsolateral prefrontal cortices, which grew considerably in our recent evolutionary past, allows us to think if then statements. Yeah, absolutely, and that changed everything with the if then statements. Like before that, I mean, we couldn't think, oh, if I walk in front of this car, I'm gonna die, and but obviously there weren't cars 3,000 years ago. But it's just it's something to think about, Oh, okay, you moved. I'm sorry, Evelyn. I didn't even see. Okay, so yeah, your queen's there. So now your queen is on a super strong file. By the way, the A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H letters, they all represent files. So the vertical columns, they're called files. So I don't want your queen to be there. It's too strong. It's too strong of a piece. But so what I'm going to do is I'm going to move my rook to G8. So my rook now is on G8, and it's challenging your queen, right? And queens are 9 points and rooks are 5 points. So you wouldn't want to take my rook because then I would just recapture with my other rook, and then that would be a 9-point piece for a 5-point piece.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's see. Okay. So okay, you're going after my queen, and that's actually a perfectly legit thing to do, right? It's like, okay, there's a lot of pressure.
My last minute.
Yeah, oh yeah, and it's the last. I'll give you more. I can give you more time. I'm gonna go.
That's all right.
It's
okay.
Right.
You can let it to you, but yeah, it's been going. We've been going a while.
Yeah, and I feel like this is we have tons of good stuff to discuss for analysis. So yeah, I just took the pawn. I sidestepped that, and I just took the pawn. I could have traded queens, and that would have been fine also. My move was actually a little bit of a mistake because of something I see now, but yeah.
I don't know. Wait, maybe not.
Yeah, I mean, this is basically, yeah, okay, and then the time ran out. It's basically a lost position, but we can go through this stuff now, and we can analyze it and see what we could have done better here. So let me close this out. All right, okay, so let's see here. All right, can you see the screen, Evelyn? The chess.com screen?
Yeah, like I'm still on the same. Yeah, I'm on the same one.
All right, so like I just went back to the very beginning. Can you see the very beginning of the chess game or not?
No. What did you click? Like review or analysis?
Yeah, just click analysis. Click analysis.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're back at the beginning, right? Yeah, I'm not even at the. Well, I kind of am at the analysis board. You're at the beginning of the game right now?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. All right, awesome. So you can just use the right arrow on the mouse or on the keyboard to go through the moves. All right. So you started by playing pawn to G4, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So this is not a recommended move. The reason being is because the beginning of the game you want to develop the center. It's a fight for the center of the board. Okay, mm-hmm. So when you played pawn to G4, it's not helping you gain central control at all, right? So you want to basically usually you move out your E pawn or your D pawn 2 squares to start the game with white. There's plenty. There's a million other variations, but that's just what I teach because it's good for beginners. Okay, so then what I did is I simply took the center, right? I moved out my E pawn, right, and that gives me some central control. I now have some control of the center, and we go from there. All right, now your next move is great. You got your knight developed, and you're throwing a punch at my undefended pawn, right? My pawn is currently undefended. And so I have to come up with a defender, right? Because I don't want to just lose my pawn for free. So I played knight to c6. This defends the pawn such that if your knight takes my pawn, which is 1 point, my knight will take your knight, which is 3 points. So that would be a great trade for me, but obviously you saw it. You did not go in for that trade. Okay, now your next move, you pushed out another pawn. But this move is actually not terrible because it gives you some control over d5. It's fine in that regard, and it allows your knight to come out to a nice square at c3 eventually, and your pawn won't be blocked on c2. So that was perfectly fine. Okay, so I got my bishop developed right there, and to c5. And notice this is a beautiful diagonal for my bishop, like I said earlier, because it's attacking this very vulnerable f2 square. The f2 square is always a weak square early in the game because it just has the king defending it. Okay, and your next move is great. This is a perfectly logical move. You're adding a defender to your c4 pawn. You also have a nice pawn chain. You have the pawn on e2 defending the pawn on d3, and the pawn on d3 defending the pawn on c4, right? So that's really strong to have what's called a pawn chain right there. So that's solid right there. So I developed my knight to e7 there. Now the reason why I did not develop my knight to f6, which would have been the natural move, is because you could have then just pushed your pawn to g5. So I didn't do that. I just developed my knight to e7, which is fine. Okay, now your next move is where you started to go wrong in this game, pretty much. So basically, in fact, you can see it like the computer. Yeah, the computer didn't like this move. The computer did not like this move. So basically, remember,
didn't like the move.
Yeah, the chess engine did not like the move. The thing to note is that, remember, we're fighting for the center, right? And when you play a move like a4, it's not giving you good central control. Now, another really important thing to note is your idea. Whenever I ask my students, well, why do you play a a4 or h4 there? They say, oh, because I wanted to move my rook out, right? Which is what you did, right?
Yeah.
This is something a lot of people don't know that are learning the game. Rooks are actually very weak early on in the game. But later on in the game, they become really strong pieces. So what you want to do is you want to wait to develop your rooks till later on in the game, because early on in the game, notice how there's pawns all over. There's a lot of pieces that are kind of just like stuck up in the middle. The rooks are better on open files and open paths where they can move a lot. But early in the game, there's not that much open. There's not a ton of open squares they can just fly through the board on, right? So you don't want to move your rooks early. You want to typically develop your center pawns early, and then your knights and your bishops. That's like the order of movement that you want to typically develop your pieces on, because knights and bishops are real strong early, especially knights, because they can hop around to all the weird squares in the center, and center pawns give you central control. All right. So then I castled. I taught you what castling was. So that was
yeah.
Yeah,
I didn't get to do it actually.
I know. Sometimes you'll have to have your castle on here.
Yeah.
Right.
I can play against the computer and give it a crack.
Yeah, perfect. All right, cool. All right, so, and by the way, the reason you castle is for king defense. Your king is going to be a lot safer.
Yeah.
Yeah, your king's going to be a lot safer once it's castled. And by the way, I know I'm doing a ton of talking here. I'm sorry if I'm like, No, that's
okay. I'm trying to take it in. I was thinking about taking notes, but I think some of the main things I've picked up already, I think are going to change a lot. The whole central game thing and
yeah.
Ooh, have I lost sound? Oh yeah, no, I haven't. The whole central game thing and even just what you told me about the rooks and the bishops, starting early in the game and late in the game. I think even that will make a big difference.
Absolutely. Yes. I mean, just if you just remember that, just central control and develop your bishops and knights early and don't develop your rooks early. I mean, stuff like that, it's going to make a huge difference. Okay. So now yeah, here's where you develop the rook, which is a mistake. When you develop the rook there, I could have obviously just taken it with my bishop and won a more powerful piece for a less powerful piece. I decided not to here. The reason I played d6, why I pushed my pawn to d6, is because it opened up a discovered attack on your pawn on g4, right? My light square bishop can now move all the way over there and take the pawn on g4 whenever it wants to, right? When my pawn was still on d7, my bishop couldn't move at all. It was completely blocked. And so that's one thing you want to consider. You want to consider how much you can move your pieces. All right. So then you moved your rook over again. So that's the second rook move you made. So you were losing a lot of time here by moving your rook around, which was problematic as well. So I came after your rook now, and then you did a cool idea. You brought the rook down, forking my bishop and my knight, but it doesn't quite work because my pawn is defending the bishop in this particular situation. And so then I just went ahead and attacked the rook, which basically forces me to be able to make a trade eventually for your rook, right? Okay, so you took the best piece. You took that you could take. You took the bishop and the pawn, and then you got your knight and a great square. And this is actually not a terrible thing at all. Your knight is on one of the central four squares. You're in good position with your knight. The only thing is you had to sacrifice your rook for it, but you gained a pawn too in the process. All right. Let's see. Yeah, now basically this is another very important concept. Your knight is really strong. I don't want your knight in my territory at all. I want to push it back. So a lot of times in chess you'll just make a little pawn move and basically say, "Hey, get out of here, knight!" Right? Go back home, right? and that's what I did. And so your knight had to go home, right? So that's like a very common theme in chess. A lot of times, just a little pawn move, you gain a little space, which is important in chess, and the knight had to go back, and then I was able to come up here and take the pawn, right? Okay. Now here you develop the knight. Which is good because you wanted to defend your knight on f3. So you developed your other knight to d2, right? That's good because now if my bishop takes your knight recaptures, you're in good shape. But the thing to remember in chess too is what happens if I don't take, right? So what happens if my bishop does not take the knight? And if my bishop does not take the knight, notice how your dark square bishop is completely blocked right now, right? Because the knight on d2 is just blocking it, right? So and your pawn on b2 is blocking it. So it actually is not advantageous for me to take the knight right now because I like the fact that your dark square bishop can't move anywhere. All right. So now I was really getting upset with the fact that my knight on a5 was just pretty much not doing anything and didn't have any good squares it can go to. So I played b6, which basically gives it's called a clearance move. It allows my knight to hop in to b7 and then maybe reroute to d6 later on, which is I think what I did to get my knight more active. All right, and now you played an awesome move. You moved your rook to g1, which is a super strong move. You're throwing a punch at the bishop, and notice your rook is in line with the king, right? With my king, such that when I move my bishop, your rook is gonna be, you're gonna be able to start an attack eventually on the king, right? So I threw my bishop to h5, and then here. Okay, I get the idea of wanting to start an attack, right? And it's a good attacking instinct. It's a good attacking instinct, right? To go in and go for that king, right? You want to go in there and beat up that king. But the problem is there was no follow up, right? If you had another piece that was ready to jump in and pounce in on the attack, then it could be a good move, right? But here I was able just to win a rook for a pawn, which is just like, which is really tough to recover from, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Your next move, I like the fact that you brought your knight to e4. I think that's strong. Your knight is now in one of the central 4 squares, which is where you want it. You want your knights in a great square. The only thing to remember is that knight was the defender of the other knight on f3, so that when I took that knight on f3 now and you recaptured with the pawn on e2, you have these weak doubled pawns right here, right? So, but you have a strong knight at least, and there was not a ton you could do there in that particular situation. So it's not bad. It's not bad. You have a strong knight now on e4 at least, right? That's what you gained out of that. In chess, a lot of times you gain something and you lose something, right? So here you gained a strong knight on e4, but there's some positional, some pawn weaknesses in your position now. By the way, do you have any questions at this point so far?
No way. This has been so comprehensive. As you explained it. Yeah, more towards the end, you're explaining a lot because I didn't know what to do. So,
cool.
I feel like I've got so much info. Yeah.
All right, perfect. Okay, so in this position, when I look at this position, I'm looking at the fact that you have a weak pawn on h2, right? It's currently undefended. It's a type 1 undefended piece, they call it in chess. You have 2 weak pawns on f3 and f2. Those are double isolated pawns, which means they don't have pawns on the adjacent files. So I should be able to go after those and target those later, which I was able to. And then I'm also noticing that your king is uncastled, so maybe I can get at your king. And the other thing that I notice is both of your bishops have not moved yet. And this is actually a huge problem. You want to get your knights and bishops developed early in the game, right? And we're already like way down in the game, pretty far into the game, and your bishops are not developed. So we got to find a way to get your bishops developed earlier. And you do a good job later of getting them active. It's just a matter of getting them active a little bit earlier in the game. All right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So speaking of piece activity, I wanted to get my queen really active. So I brought it to a very strong square in the center. I'm eyeing the b2 pawn, which is currently defended by the bishop. I'm eyeing the f2 pawn, which is currently defended by the king. But my queen is very strong in this particular spot. And then you developed your queen, which I think is a good idea, right? Your queen is developed. And notice also your queen is now is protecting, adding a second defender to the pawn on b2, such that you now have the freedom to be able to move your c1 bishop, and you're not going to drop the b2 pawn because your queen is defending it, which is what you actually end up doing in a little bit. Okay, so on the next move, I move my rook to e8, my rook on from the a file to e8. And I did that because my rook is now in line with your king, right? You want to get your bishops, queens, and rooks in line with your opponent's king, so that when the pieces in between get traded off or move or try to move, you're going to be able to have checks on your opponent's king. It basically it restricts the movement of your opponent's pieces. Wait,
your bishops, your rooks, and your... Did you say queen?
Queens, yeah, your long range. Your long range attackers, you want them in line with your opponent's king.
With the king, okay. Yep.
All right. So then, and then we had, and then you did a really smart move. You moved your bishop to e2. Now your bishop's developed. It's defending the pawn on f3. That's a solid move. Another idea that you could have had would have been bishop to h3. So bishop to h3 would have given you control of this pretty strong diagonal. You would have had a lot of range, a lot of scope with that bishop diagonal. But your move is fine. Your move is fine too, right? Okay. And now, so now my knight on e7 is pretty weak. It's not doing much. It's just kind of it's blocking the scope of my rook, right? Because my rook is just basically staring at my knight. So I want to get my knight more active. So I played my knight to g6, which basically gives me a little more activity. My rook now can sweep in and move down the e file. And then you played an awesome move. You played bishop to e3. And so you developed your final piece, your final piece that hasn't moved yet, right? Your bishop is now on e3. And you developed it with tempo, which means you're throwing a punch at my best piece. All right, so that was a power move. That was a great move. Your bishop's attacking my best piece, and you got your piece developed. So you gained time. You gained a tempo. So now I have to move my queen to a more passive square, and so you pushed me all the way back down to d7. So my queen is now much weaker than it was when it was on d4. And your bishop is a lot stronger than it was when it was on b1, right? So basically that was a key idea. Okay, and now you push the pawn from f3 to f4, which is great because it opens up your light square bishop diagonal, right? So now before when your pawn was on f3, it was blocked. It really couldn't do much. It could just go back to two diagonal squares. But now your bishop comes alive, so that's really strong. So I get my queen active by moving it to h3. And notice, remember earlier when I said I took that pawn because I wanted to create a structural weakness. Notice how the pawn on h2 is going to fall now, right? Because it doesn't have it's an isolated pawn and it doesn't have a pawn to support it like on an adjacent file. So we have that. Okay, then you developed your queen to c3. Queen c3, that's a great idea because your queen now and your knight are converging on f6, which is solid. You want to put a lot of pressure on my pieces. Also notice with your queen on c3, I am not allowed to push my pawn on f6 to f5 because your queen would then be checking my king. And you can never move your own king into check. So that pawn is what's called, it's an absolute pin. It's pinned to my king. So I can't move it right now. All right. So I just take the pawn on h2. And now you come forward and you push your pawn attacking my knight on g6. And then so I need to reroute my knight. I throw my knight to e5, and this is all just me wanting to get my knight centralized. My knights are strongest, like I said earlier, in the center of the board. Okay, and now you push forward on b4, which is fine. I take and you take, and now your queen is on a great diagonal, but I'm able to close it up here, right? I don't want your queen to be able to infiltrate my territory. Like let's say I did a nothing move. Like let's say I played like h6 here instead of playing c5, right? Let's say I played h6. Then if I played h6, then your queen all of a sudden could hop on in, could move on into to d6 and start really putting some pressure on my king, right? Because you have ideas of like c7 check or other ideas of putting pressure on my king, right? So I don't want to allow your queen to enter my territory. So I played c5, which throws a punch at the queen and kind of blocks that queen from infiltrating my territory, right? And then you retreated your queen to c3, which makes sense. You need a square for your queen, and if my knight ever moves, you're going to have a lot of pressure on f6. And now here, my knight on a5 he's just totally out of play. He's just kind of sitting there. He's like off on the side of the board, not doing much. I want to get that knight more active. So I moved my knight over to c6. So my knight's getting more active. And now you came in with a very good aggressive attacking move. You played pawn to f4, which is solid, right? That's a solid move. You're attacking my knight that's on e5. So now I'm going to have to find a new home for my knight. I don't have a ton of good squares. So I back up to one of the only good squares I have, which is d7. And this is actually an important move because now my knight aids in defense of the f6 pawn, which is a very weak pawn for me. Notice how you have your knight and your queen both attacking my pawn on f6. So having another defender for f6 like my knight can actually be very helpful, right? All right. So now you moved your king. You did a preemptive move. You just moved your king to safety by moving it to d2. I moved my queen to h3. I was just basically honing in on the f5 pawn, and also notice if your knight on e4, its movement is constrained because let's say your knight I don't know moves somewhere like to let's say your knight moves to like f2, right? All of a sudden now my queen and my rook would both be attacking your bishop on e3, and I would be able to take with check, and you would not be able to recapture my queen because of my rook. You'd be moving into check. Your king can never move into check. So basically, this is kind of an interesting moment. Your pieces are all kind of blocked. They don't have a lot of mobility right now, and that's like the theme. That's like one of the main themes of this game, and it's because you did not gain control of the center early, and because you lost your rooks. Like your rooks would be super strong right now. Like imagine if you had both of your rooks right now and you were able to like put them on one on the G file and like one on the H file, right? You would be able to have a killer attack on my king. But because your rooks, you activated your rooks earlier, you were able to you don't have those rooks to come in and attack my king right now. All right. So then here you played a5, and I just snagged the pawn because I didn't want you breaking up that pawn chain. You move your queen back. I get my king to safety because I didn't want you to be able to throw your queen to g1 with check. Your queen now is very active, but I have the nice counter of rook to g8, which blocks it. And now you go for a queen trade. I could have gone for the queen trade here myself, but instead I just snagged the pawn on f5, and then that was it. That's where then you ran out of time at that point. Yeah, so that was it. Do you have any questions about this game?
No, I'm in information overload now. So
I know that was that was a lot.
Anything else in? Yeah, it's one of those things where I think I got some really key bits of information in, and because I streamed it, I can download it, and when I'm ready to take on more, I can go back and watch it. Yeah, because when I'm learning something that's needs a lot of my attention, I kind of stop taking a lot of it in, and then I'll kind of intermittently take a bit more in that there's room for.
Yeah.
But I think it's really, that's amazing that you've got so much skill and knowledge to share. That's awesome.
Well, thank you. It's like you with your yoga, right? You people think the same thing about your yoga. You have so much skill and knowledge to share with about yoga that it's what we do. It's what we do. So we share what we work at and what we get good at. So yeah, that's I'm glad I was able to do this, and thank you so much. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and going through this. And by the way, you'll have this since you played on chess.com. You'll be able to go back and you can review your game anytime you want, and it will store all your games.
Oh, okay.
And
so the record of it is also on chess.com, but not the video.
Correct. Yeah, not the video. Just the actual moves. So if you ever want, you just go to chess.com. You can go to archive, and you can see any of the games that you've played there, and you can kind of go through them, and you can even run computer analysis and see. That's more advanced. For now, it's just basically understanding the basics. Taking control of the center is the main key, though.
Yep.
All right, cool. All right, I think we're gonna end the chess part of this stream. Evelyn, thank you again so much. This was my first time doing this. I haven't having someone's live feed on stream, so I hope you had a good time. Let me give
that's great.
Yeah, let me give a big shout out to Evelyn again. Evelyn Yoga.
I need to fix my shout-outs.
Here we go. Evelyn is a streamer on Twitch. She streams. She's a phenomenally yoga streamer, but I really, really, really like her Yin yoga especially. Yin yoga is, she'll tell you about it more than I do, but it's basically less intense poses, but you hold them longer. That's like my at least understanding of Yin yoga. But yeah, so check her out and drop her a follow. And yeah, all right. Let me go back here, and I will end this. Evelyn, thank you so much, and have a great day. All right. All right.
Thanks,
Bye.
Agni. Thanks for the lesson. Bye.
Yep. Bye. All right. Let's see where are we at here. Okay. Let's get everything back. I need to get my camera in the right spot. So let's go to cam and deactivate and activate. Okay, we should be good now. All right, we're back. We're back. That was awesome. That was the first time we've done that. And JT, you say a great game, guys. Well, thank you. Yeah. Here's the ring, JT. I decided to wear a little bling for today. This was given to me by a friend. I haven't worn this ring in a long time. And I just figured I'd wear it today. So yeah, why not, right? Why not? Yeah. All right. So that was good. That was good. It took a lot out of me to do it. One song, yeah, I know this is like one of those like '90s rings, right? You would see this in the '90s. People would wear rings like this all the time. Juggling biohazards. You say I'm excellent seeing both of your thoughts while playing. Hope to see more chess. Yeah, I would like to. I would like to as well. I'd like to stream more chess. The main focus is always going to be guided meditations. But chess and philosophy, are definitely second and third. Those or tied for second. They both are things that I've been very passionate about in my life. I'm probably going to play in the Chicago Open this year. So I've been training for that. And so yeah, those are things that I like doing. And by the way, if anyone ever has any questions about chess or anything like that, we can schedule doing a lesson online. You don't even have to have your video feed hooked up. If you want to just do a regular lesson and we could play a game or something online, like I did with One Sluggy one time, and that was pretty cool. That was kind of instructive. But yeah, and I teach people of all levels up to about like 1600. After that, I'm not a very valuable resource. Highest rating I ever got was something, I think 1861, and that was in the 99.6 percentile. So on chess.com. So that's how I do it. Let's see. Evelyn, you say that was long. No wonder you're tired. 2 hours. Whoa, that was a 2-hour stream. Yeah, I am pretty tired. That was a lot. I had a lot of energies coming in, and I do feel a little beat. But we'll do a meditation, then we'll call it a day. But yeah, let me switch over to meditation, and I'm gonna need like a couple minute break as well. So let's do this real quick. All right. Bam. There's that, and then let's switch categories to fitness and health. It's always going to be my my home category. They've always shared a lot of love with me in that category. Okay, so interesting. There we go. All right, we're good with that. Okay, so I'm going to take. Let me see if I missed anything in chat. I think we're good. I think we're pretty damn good. All right, I'm going to take a 2-minute. Actually, I'm going to take a 4-minute break. So I will be back in 4 minutes, and then we'll run a guided meditation. So I'll see you all in 4 minutes. Thank you all so much for checking out that chess. And yeah, I'll be back in 4 minutes. All right. We are back. So, I always come out really intense, and we had this awesome thing today with Evelyn. We got to do a chess lesson. Evelyn hopefully learned some stuff about chess. I was able to teach, and it was my first time using Twitch's new feature called Guest Star, where it's supposed to be an easy way to put the other person on stream, and it kind of is, but it's got some difficulties as well behind it. But yeah, it was fun. So I always come out here intense, and then we slow things down. And come within to the place of peace and love in our hearts. Find a comfortable seated position. You can sit on the floor in lotus pose. You can sit cross-legged. Or you can sit in a chair. The main thing is to find a position that is comfortable for you. And then gently close your eyes. And take a few slow, deep breaths on your own. I have a Buddhist chant that I play that has a chime that rings every 2 seconds. And you can use it to help regulate your breath count. As soon as I find it. There we are. So take a few more slow, deep breaths on your own while maintaining good posture. Inhale through your nose, gently raising your belly. Exhale through your mouth, gently lowering your belly. Breathe in through your nose, slowly raising your abdomen. Breathe out through your mouth, slowly lowering your abdomen. Focus on your breath. Inhale, gently raising your belly. Exhale, lowering your belly. Breathe in, raising your abdomen. Breathe out, lowering your abdomen. Keep your attention on your breath count. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. Your breath calms your body, and your body calms your mind. Be mindful of your breath count. On the tallest mountain peak, watching the clouds float through the sky beneath you. Two clouds float together and merge into one. And one cloud stretches apart, dividing into two. These clouds float through the sky before disappearing over the horizon. These clouds are like your thoughts. Thoughts come into being and exist for a while in conscious awareness before disappearing from your mind. That is the nature of human thought. Inhale. Exhale. Breathe in. Breathe out. Your breath calms your body, and your body calms your mind. Be mindful of your breath counts. When thoughts arise in your mind, picture them as clouds floating through the sky before disappearing over the horizon, and return your awareness to your breath count. This next part is about gratitude. Gratitude is about refocusing your mind. On your next breath, experience any things you are grateful for. Don't just think them, but feel them. Think about the people in your lives and how grateful you are for them. Think about the joy and oneness associated with connecting with them. experience the perfect love through this connection. When there's so much to be grateful for. Whether it be family or friends or possessions or feelings, whatever it is that you're grateful for. Allow yourself to truly feel that gratitude. You are worthy of all the positive things in your life. You have many gifts yet to receive. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that does not serve you well. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all that is of no benefit to you. Stay focused on your breath count. Your essence is love. Your love is manifested as light. Your purpose is to shine your light on others. Awakening the inner light within them. And they can remember that that light has existed in them all along. and they will remember their divine inheritance. Allowing that all encompassing light to fill their entire bodies. Each individual remembering their own perfect light. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all that does not serve you well. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all ego which obscures your third eye sight. Stay focused on your breath. When thoughts arise in your mind, picture them as clouds floating through the sky before disappearing over the horizon, and return your awareness to your breathing. On your next breath, travel down beneath the level of conscious awareness. Go all the way down to where your essence flows the strongest. the place residing at the centermost location of your being. This place is your center point. Experience the perfect monism residing here. For this place eternally is one. Separation and division cannot enter this location. Nor can opposites and polarities. Fear and worry cannot enter here. For this place is filled eternally with love, and what is filled cannot contain anything else. Focus on your center point. And when you're ready, travel through. I'll see you on the other side. Here, at your center point, you recall your true identity. At your center, you remember how you came to be. Here, at your center point, you recall your divine purpose. to spread love and light to all of those whom you encounter. And they will remember the perfect light that has always existed within them. And they will share their light with all those whom they encounter. Until all of humanity is glowing radiantly as one once again. And we are free from our bonds of this dualistic framework. Inhale. Exhale, releasing all stress and tension from your body. Breathe in. Breathe out, releasing all fear from your mind. Gently open your eyes and return to the present moment, bringing with you the peace from this meditation throughout the remainder of your day. Namaste. Thank you all so much for sharing this sacred space with me. I am honored and humbled to be here with you as your meditation guide. I hope you each got something out of this meditation. I hope you feel more peaceful and relaxed. I hope you feel more centered and grounded. And I hope you feel more joyful and loving than you did prior to the meditation. And I hope you're each able to take the peace and love from this meditation with you out into the external world and share it with all those whom you encounter. Namaste. All right. That was it. We did the meditation. I hope everyone, how was that for everyone? Evelyn, you said thanks again, Agni. Yeah. Hey, it's my honor. It's my honor and privilege to be able to give back to you because you've given me a lot with your yoga streams. You're an amazing yogi. And it's awesome that I'm able to show you something that I know and to teach you. So that's pretty cool. Thank you so much for being here with me. You have to go out now. We'll have a good time. Yeah, have a great time. Namaste, Evelyn. On JT Farms. All right. Good. You enjoyed it. I'm glad you had a good experience here. You say essence eternal. Well, I am thankful for you and all you do. And one Sluggy, man, you really came through tech-wise the last couple days. It's funny, you didn't say a single word, but via the chat and communicating in chat, you really helped me out, man. You helped me out with getting everything in order, getting this guest star thing in alignment. What I need, what would be, easiest obviously is if I had a second monitor right next to me. But I decided to go one big monitor as opposed to two smaller monitors. So because most of the streamers out there, a lot of them have second monitors, and then they can have everything set up the way they want on the second monitor, right? And then they can just do video window capture and video capture and show that on their first monitor, right, if they want, or they can do it that way. But I have to rig it a little bit. But thank you again so much for your help. All right, yeah, we've had some great people. Victor Sort was here earlier, someone who I respect and admire a lot. He's a great chess player, a really smart guy. He is going for his PhD in psychology, which is cool. I respect that. Who else do we have here? We had Aristotle. Aristotle was here, man. Thank you again so much for the raid, dude. That was pretty awesome that you came in and raided during that chess lesson. I really appreciate that, man. We've had some really good people. Danny John was in here. You cannot forget Danny John. She's one of a kind. She is one of a kind, let me tell you. And I don't use that phrase lightly. One of a kind. And then so it went great. All right, let's see who's out there in the Twitch world, because now we get to spread our love and light with everyone else out there, which is pretty cool. So let me get the raid sign all set up. If you're a subscriber, you can copy and paste this, and if you are not, you can just spread and send some love to this streamer's way, and we will see now who's out there. Okay, let's see. Oh, Imbalanced is streaming. Yeah, dude. I haven't rated one of his streams in a while. I think he's still streaming. Let me go to it. Yeah, we're gonna give Imbalanced a raid. He's a good dude. I like the guy, and we're gonna see how this goes. Let's give Imbalanced a raid. Raid Imbalanced Physique. There he is. All right, he's doing tarot. So hopefully you like tarot. Hopefully you want to, check out his stream and drop him a follow. He's a good, authentic dude. And I will see you around. Until next time, I love all of you unconditionally, and be kind and loving to the people in your lives. That's it. That's all I ask. Good night, One Sluggy. Good night, JT.